Greetings and welcome back to AI War 2. It's time to get the new series underway. The Fallen Spire Simplified. Because we're not going to have a bunch of other factions in there, we're just going to focus on the Spire and the AI response. But I'll be getting to a montage of the run-up to what happened in the current game soon, because there's some really interesting things that happened. May or may not get to the actual Spire stuff in this episode. If I don't, it'll be in the next one. But first, an addendum to the last series, which ended badly, of course, Tasting the Spire, because I neglected to mention and show a couple things in that final episode that I wanted to about the expansion. So, first up, this is the Nemesis when it showed up. As you can see, it's a big sucker. The Subjugator was 31 strength. This thing doesn't have mark levels. It's just the Nemesis. Almost 300 strength. And the big thing here, look at the Antimatter Jaws DPS, almost 600k. And then look at the zombification is severe, but the vampirism is where it really gets you. Repairs itself by 0.2 health for every 1 damage it deals. Which means if you only consider the Antimatter Jaws, if they are doing maximum damage, like if it has at least 16 things to shoot at, which you'd better have at least 16 things shooting at it, then we're talking about it recovering, almost 120,000 health per... How often does it attack? Yeah, per second. Has a good range of 12,000 with that. So, yeah. The first time that this thing actually came into the system, I was able to defeat it, but every time I've reloaded since then, I can't quite get there. Let's see what happens here.
Enemy forces are attacking one of our planets.
You can see it's getting down. It's down to third, quarter. And now we're not making progress anymore because it's killed too much of our stuff that we can't do enough damage to overcome its zombification. And now it's just an unstoppable force. There's nothing we can do about it, and then we've got all this. Yeah, we've got some of our ships shooting at other things, even though I told them not to. But I might have misclicked or whatever. But the bottom line is, like, this whole beachhead is touch and go. Most of the time it can't defeat this. And then, yep, there goes our command station and everything else. So when the Scourge start regularly sending these, I would need to have an even more beefed up station with a bunch of, like, probably plasma drivers from the Spire. Or you can just forget about defeating it, because it's just going to rampage through everything you have, or a massive fleet, obviously. But, I don't have either one of those things yet. And so this thing literally was the coup de grace, as they say. Okay, so if we look at some other things... Yeah, I can't build anything in here. Let's move into a different system. Okay, so some of the different turrets that I picked up that I didn't really talk about. Holocene missiles. I like these. Now, they send a big plasma missile bolt slowly across the planet. Then it explodes and does area of effect damage where it arrives. You can see it has a radius of 1,000, which is decent. And then does the full damage to up to 25 different targets. So it's really good at crowd control. And then there's the acid turret. Shots from the above weapon explode with a radius of 350, doing their full damage to at most 3 targets. This is, again, Mark III. This isn't really high. Damage amplification. They cause the target to take 50 more damage from every shot it hits for 10 seconds. 50 damage doesn't sound like a lot, but it really helps with, again, crowd control type stuff. And what I really like about this is the way that there's synergy with some of the other turrets. Like, for example, the vampire turret, which we haven't seen yet, but it has vampirism. It heals based on how much damage it does. So it'll actually heal faster by getting that extra 50 damage per shot that it hits the enemy. And it's not a super strong turret aside from that. So it's a really big increase to its damage and then self-healing. So I really like things like this that interact in intelligent ways with other turrets. That's really cool. I think we pretty much covered all of the other ones. So now we'll take a nice big hop into the new game. So here's our setup. that I used, again, difficulty 7, full ensemble for the AI, just that, and the Fallen Spire intensity 5. Those are the only other factions. And I had it set to 80, but it actually had 91 planets. That's because of how Bubbles maps work. We'll take a closer look at that. Now, why did I use a Bubbles map instead of a concentric? Well, I want to get into that a bit. So we've taken this area here, we're about to strike in over there, and some interesting things happen over there that I want to show. But I thought a bit about how I want to do this, and most people that are playing the Fallen Spire, the thing they're having the biggest trouble, the ones who are having trouble, is with the relic chase. So I wanted to play a strategy on a map that was specifically designed against the relic chase, not so much around the choke points. Obviously you need your choke points, and that's going to be a significant factor as well. What I was looking for here, and I went through several seeds once I decided I wanted a Bubbles map, is a way that I can split the galaxy up into multiple sections where they all have to cross into my territory. Because once you get up to a certain point, I believe it's 5 Spire cities, the relics will spawn at least 6 hops away from player systems. You have to go deep into AI space, or you have to have a way to route them through areas that are closer to your space after they spawn. They also can't spawn on the AI homeworld. There's a bug where that was happening, but that's being fixed. Or adjacent to the AI homeworld under any conditions. So, if we look at this, they could spawn down in this general area, or up here, or up here. So we've got 3 different basic sectors that I'm cutting off. And if they spawn somewhere that's near the AI homeworld, let's go to the AI homeworld. I lose them. But if they spawn either of the other 2, they'll have to go through this circle that I'm going to occupy here. They'll have to go through a bunch of my territory. I can kill them with turrets. And then their relic response, when the AI spawns ships to go after the relic, it'll just ram right into my choke points. I'm fine with that. So that was the basic decision here. Now, this map, I got a bunch of fleets quickly, which was a nice little stroke of luck. I also was using a different approach. I now know that I don't need tech for the Spire, so I am investing more of that into my other things that I need early on, and that was able to get things moving. Got a couple of Outguards close by, and then there's 2 more over here. 4 out of the 5 Outguards were fairly close to me. That was really lucky, and I'm going after those. And this right here was the most difficult part as I sort of transitioned from the early game to the middle game. A couple of Mark V planets, and this one ended up being the rougher one. And then I wanted to get this Bell Prime arc here, which is really nice. If you can see the attack bonus, the first 12 seconds after, when it's defending a wormhole, after something comes in, 10 times damage. And it also is good at ambushing wormholes on the other side, like invading, double damage to enemies for the first 12 seconds after it enters a system. And it cloaks. So all those things in an arc which only costs us 10 AI progress extra to acquire. So I wanted to get to here, get these 2 Outguards, and once I did that, things really start accelerating for me. Here in Crimson 1, I did something that I've actually never managed to do before. And that is used beachhead effectively. It's not nearly as effective normally as it is, or was in Classic rather. But if we sort of unpause this and have everybody just go pursue and kill whatever. But what I did is, actually, no, I don't want you to do that. I tried to keep everybody away. I'm going to move up this way. Because, first of all, got some parasites shooting at it from long range, which is great. We've got some Outguard in here helping us out. But then also, you see all these? These Hailstorm turrets suck. Especially the Mark V version, because they do a ton of damage to lightly armored ships, which it just so happens that almost my entire fleet is. Yay. So, by building all this stuff, I was able to build concussion turrets out of the range of these, because these have short range. Come on. Give me the rangefinder. There we go. See, these are really short, but my concussion turrets can reach them. And so I brought in my battle station and just set up a bunch of stuff in here, and then the concussion turrets help clean these out from afar. So, otherwise, I mean, my fleets were just getting torn up, and I encountered them a couple times later in the game. Small ships against these Hailstorm turrets They're like the seeker turrets, only for small ships. Seeker turrets against large ships. They are just painful. And then later on, I had probably the most ridiculous battle I have ever had. Now, I've captured this. I've got the Ark. I've hacked the Outguard. So I now have 4 different sets of Outguard, or 8 Outguard that I'm going to use. And believe me, I'm going to need them all. I came down in here. This gave me a fleet and gave me striking distance, but I still had to go one step beyond. I could have grabbed this fleet, but I didn't want to grab the AI progress, so that ended up being a wise move. So I came into occupational hazard, and the reserves showed up. So initially, this planet boosted up to almost 400 strength, and now it's down to still only about 300 strength, but we've got 76, and then we've got 115. And just for the lols, what I did is I turned, yep, they're on. I turned everybody on pursuit, just so that everybody would just go attack whatever, and I just started spamming Outguard to make up the difference. So I'm going to spend a bit of time in this battle just because it got so insane. Boost the speed up here. And then, you know, you can see all these. And if we take a look at this one, I wanted to highlight this for a bit. Democratic Demolitionists. The leader of this group was stuck with nothing but grenade launcher ship and turret schematics. He took the only logical conclusion and built hundreds of them, withdraws after 10 minutes. This is named after one of the testers who has a long-running gag where he does not like grenade turrets, because he thinks the range needs to be much higher for them to really be effective. And he's campaigned repeatedly for them to be boosted in the range, and that balance bit has been something the developers weren't on board with, so they denied it. And so he sort of got put in the game in that sense. Now, these we can't spawn because, you know, they don't want to work where the AI owns it. These we can't spawn because we have to own it. But now we're getting close to having some of these. And if we look at our, you know, everything's scattering all over. If we look at our planet here, they're at almost 200. We're at 120. They still have more strength than us. And so I just sort of, over the course of this battle, there were some Outguard groups that I called in at the beginning of the battle, and they had time to entirely recycle and have me call them in again towards the end of the battle. I just, you know, and then once we got in here, to where some of these pop up here, they're about to in a second, did you see the tackle drone launchers also just running everything down there? Their drones just track your ships and pull them off to the edge of the system. Yep, you get in here too. Let's see, who else? Is there anybody? We got a couple more that we can probably prop in. And you can see my fleet is actually taking quite a bit of a hit. We got support fleets in nearby systems. But just everything running all over the place. And I'm kind of like a sideshow at this point. It's relatively even. You know, but I mean, this battle ended up taking, I think, several minutes. You know, real time to complete. And I'm going to call in these last two once they get here. Let's see. Yeah, because it's still pretty much an even fight at this point. And so we just sort of had to survive until I could spawn enough Outguard. And I just felt this thing needed some sort of cheesy, ridiculous music, as there's just fights going on all over the place throughout this. If you've been paying attention to the video while I ramble, it's like, there's no way to even, like, there's no order to it. It's just an everybody fighting everybody. Oh, there's a bunch more tackle drones ramming their stuff to the edge of the system. You know, I just needed some stupid cheesy music, sort of like, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the right theme would be for it, but I've never had a battle like this before. It was just insane. And of course, we eventually did clear them out. But, I mean, I could have just left when the reserve showed up, but I just went all in with the Outguard. I'm glad I did, because this was just, it was zany from start to finish. I am actually going to do a proper super terminal hack next. That's what's going on here, right next to the one I had taken. But I took this and lost it multiple times. This is actually hours later in the game. You can see almost 6 hours have passed. I'm really glad I was being fairly careful on AI progress earlier, Because what happened is I discovered the AI homeworld is over here, and there is this very nice stretch here with both MDCs. I was annoyed that there was none nearby me, but they're both right next to each other here, in Brugo and Fang. So we've got these two up, and I also captured Oz because the one here it's like right on top of the wormhole. So if I didn't take the nearby system, I'd be in trouble. So that way this can blunt the exo waves. They'd have to destroy this system to come in here, and if I have to make this a military station, I will. Okay, and by grabbing these two, I was able to stay at the Mark II level for AI progress. You see, we're at 202, and we're actually slightly below the floor right now. Also, if you remember the 6 hops away rule, well, 6 hops from here is to the homeworld, and 6 hops around this way is here. So this is literally, because they can't spawn adjacent, so this is literally the only system in this part of the map, and I could push out one more if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. The only system in this part of the map that the relic can spawn in and go straight to the homeworld. Everywhere else, it will have to go over this way. So I'm going to eventually get rid of this system so that it can spawn some down here. And there's also going to be some systems that can spawn down here. Either one of those got a path directly through my territory, and I should be fine. Now, for this one, I'm going to eventually have to get up to Mark III, but I want to reduce the AI progress as much as possible because I've been thinking about it, and for economic reasons, I think it's probably actually useful for me to take this entire pocket. Now, I could be wrong. I do like the idea of doing that. There's the relic here, which is in a really bad system for it, so if I have adjacent hostile systems, that's going to be an issue. There's some nice things back here. That fleet isn't great, but this is a good GCA. This is a good GCA, and if we take this, we don't have to hack them. Can use the hacking on other things. So I think the value in having a bunch more economic systems may very well outweigh the increased AI progress I'm going to get. Could be wrong about that, but that's what I'm going with. Then I also grabbed along here, my path along here to get these MDCs gave me 2 drainer citadels. So I've upgraded the citadel tech. I've been upgrading gradually, you know, like the engineering, the military, the force fields, the sentries, etc. And the citadel tech is all the way maxed up, and then I'm going to additionally here do something else. I'm going to boost, where is it? There we go. I'm going to spend 1,000 science to get these all up to level 6. And then you too. So my battle station, you know, and that boosts all the turrets that they get, of course. And then I need to build some more in here because now I've got even more turrets that I can build. And I've already spent 8, 9 million perhaps on turrets in here. So let's just get these placed real quick. And I'm looking for pretty much anywhere that I can throw them. Ambush there, there, and we got death grip turrets. We got absolutely every stinking thing. And we're at the point where I can't even hardly find a place to put this stuff that's like within range of the target. But believe me, I want them all. It's just sort of the nucleophilic are really good against lots of high energy stuff. So we're going to throw those in. See, we got a couple more tractors that we can add. Is there anything else? I think that's it. They'll build their engineers. So let's just get this moving a little bit. And we're going to spend much more metal. You see, we got down to about a little over 1 million from a peak metal of almost 9 million. And now we're just going to spend more. So as soon as these are up,
Critical planet under attack.
we are going to trigger, yeah, okay, that's a lot, but this is a military station. Yeah. Our force fields are taking a nice hit. They're going to wear it down, I think, but let's go with, yeah, we've got a 3rd force field that we can deploy. I just want to make sure everything's okay in here. Think we are going to be, because you're coming up. There we go. Okay, yep. So we handled it. It wasn't the most simple thing in the world, but we handled it. Okay, now back to Garfield. And hopefully we've got enough defenses to handle what we're going to get here. So, generally speaking, if you play well, and, you know, again, I've gone up probably more hacking than I should. AI progress probably higher than I should, but a general ballpark figure is around 80 to get from the super terminal. So that's sort of our comparison point, and we're going to see how we do relative to that, but I don't think there's anything else we can do in here. So let's go ahead and trigger this and see what happens.
Hacking underway.
Now, AI progress isn't actually going to go down because we are just below the floor at the moment. And our strength here is about 500. So I'm going to be okay with them getting like a couple hundred above that. Like, let's say that they build to 700-800 strength in here. Or if ours starts going down, you know. Something like that. So maybe let their strength get maybe 50% higher than what ours is what I'm aiming at. And then we'll see what happens. So if we take a look. Okay, we've now lost 16 AI progress from this. And we just barely managed to kill all that group before they spawned. And meanwhile, our threat was at about 200 at the start. So it'll be interesting to see how much that scales up with the exos. You can see just it's spamming reduced AI progress here. And our hacking's going down, but not that far. These don't cost a huge amount of hacking. But boy, do you need to be ready for it. And now we're not quite killing all of it. So now they're starting to scale up. We're at actually a little bit higher strength now, 500.
Taking fire on enemy world.
And how are we doing now? 35. So this could be a pretty decent job at this hack, if we survive it. And again, these are dangerous, and people who play on high levels in general, they don't even mess with a super terminal. Like, it's too hazardous. It's not worth the trouble. But we're only on difficulty 7. There we go. 200 and some. We got, how far are we going to get this down? Okay, and then it boosts up to about 300. So we're not far from the end here. There's only so much more we're going to be able to do. And then I probably call in some Outguard at the end to actually... I should be calling out Outguard now. Let's spawn every Outguard we can find to just throw at this problem. Okay, so now we've got 118 of them, so that boosts us up to about 600 strength, but it's still not going to be enough to hold this. Particularly now where it's grown. Okay, they're a little bit bigger than us now. I'm going to wait for the next burst. Okay, there it is. We're done. Cancel the hack. Outguard. So I'm going to spam any Outguard that I can find in here. Let's see, where are we at? Yeah, the overall threat is over 1,000, but, I mean, 800 of it's in here. So we're not getting that much in terms of the exo attacks. We're just... Okay, they're up to 2.0, which is indifferent. And we got 59. That's not bad. That's not great, but that's not bad. That's a respectable super terminal hack. I probably could have pushed this a little bit further. And one of the reasons why I'm even bothering with this, by the way, is I've gotten some new information. AI progress does figure in to the exo-wave sizes you get in the Spire. So, I was wrong about that in the first series, and I do apologize for that. But it's not something that's, like... There's a lot of information right now that's under the hood that isn't explicitly revealed to the player in this stuff, and it'll be discovered over time. So, and you can see we got some fleets leveling up. Alright, Oralau is having trouble. Some of it. They can hold this off for a while. I have... This is sort of... By the way, my design of the Galaxy, this is my bait system, if you will. Because I'm going to keep this separate. I'm going to have a choke point here, this choke point here. I'm going to keep this separate. And so this way the normal AI waves hit here, and we don't have to have them building up and up and up and hitting our massive choke points. So, having spent all my... now I have these guys. Let's send them down here. And they'll help out with this, but at least by diverting and absorbing some of the stuff. Let's do you. You're a defensive system. That should be enough. Okay. So they'll just help absorb fire and also, deal with some of these enemies out here. The beam cannons should be able to reach them. And if you send too many outguards in, everybody runs away, and that might almost be too much as it is. So it's sort of a catch-22 situation that we've got going on there. And what do we have in here? Yeah, we're going to clean this up. This is no longer an issue. Okay, so moving forward, what am I going to do actually from this point? Well, I want to capture this. I'm going to go out a little bit more here and get a couple choke points. I'm probably going to end up, I'm going to say roughly low 300s, low level Mark III on the AI progress. I like where I am over here. I've got a choke point here, choke point here. I've hacked everything that I want. I do have the turret booster, the turret intergalactic coordinator. I don't have the other ones. The only thing I really want to do here is hit this distribution node. And there's another one somewhere, or I don't remember where it is. Another distribution node that I want to hit. But just a couple planets here, and this ring is what I need to capture. And once I do that, I can get set up for the actual Spire stuff proper. Now, another question you might have is, well, why are you waiting? Why are you getting the galaxy all set up first? One is, I just really like the way this one played out. I mean, we didn't have the Scourge to deal with, so we weren't under time pressure, and you can really set up things to your optimal benefit. But also, the way that the Spire Exos work, and this is the way it was in Classic, it's what I expected. They start out at a certain level based on how many, based on that first city and how much AI progress you have. And then they will gradually increase. Each one gradually increases and gradually takes a little bit more time. It cycles up and up like that. And then there's a cap for how high it can get based on how many cities you have. So because of that, when you start building your first city, or you can wait till a little bit later in the campaign, but it's best to do it when you build your first city, treat it as a race. In other words, if you can build cities faster than their exos cycle up, you can actually get to the point where you're keeping the exo waves below the cap. Like, they never reach the cap. Each one's always higher than the next one. They never reach the cap for that many cities, and so relatively speaking, the exo waves are lower. And so by having everything set up the way I'm going to want it before I trigger that, I can face overall reduced resistance over the course of the Spire stuff and make things a little bit easier. It may not be strictly necessary for Intensity 5, but Fallen Spire 5 is generally considered to be harder than the default Fallen Spire for the classic version of the game. And especially after what happened last time, I don't want to take any chances. Onward to secure the rest of the territory we need. Alright, now we've come full circle back to where I planned to begin this series. We are into the Spire campaign. Only have 2 cities, but we're about to get more. So, we've got one here, and we've got one over here. This is going to be our capital. This is the one where the research lab was, so we just built it right in place. It's a little bit out of the way, but I'm not too bad with it, and our shipyard's going to be here. I'm not going to depend as much on the Spire ships this time anyway. It's going to be more about the fortifications. Spire ships are just sort of a throw-in at this point. So, in our capital, we built a shard reactor this time, gave us an extra 2 million metal. I wanted to make totally sure I was safe on energy, and I'm going to mainly use this system for just energy, pretty much, and then whatever else I feel like throwing at it. We do have a frigate neural net, a couple of those, and the shipyard. So that's our first city at the moment. Then over here, the engineering center. I want to have an engineering center on all my choke point Spire systems. That way they can repair things better. And then, of course, the plasma driver back here behind the shield. Now, for the other stuff, the debris, I grabbed these 2 cities right about the same time, because the second one was just the one that you get hanging around close to your homeworld. So I ran that one up there, and I'm just trying to accelerate getting more cities as fast as possible. We were hit and miss on the debris. We got 3, they got 3. So there are some Spire battleships hanging out around there somewhere if they haven't already hit us yet and I didn't happen to notice. I don't think they have. So, we've got two things going on. One, they spawned another relic to just hack. And that's down here. And I didn't see that at all. I had several relic trains, and I hadn't seen that happen once on Intensity 7. So I think on the higher difficulties, it's at least less likely that you'll just spawn one. Of course, that's easier because you can just go and get it and clear out the path, and that's what I've done. I prepared this as best I can. So I'm going to take this one and try to get it the 4 jumps back to here. So that's my plan for this. As you can see, if we look in here, you know, we've just got done. There's no resistance now, and we'll just want to clear off any attacks that come as we go. Then there's also the relic train. So we should soon get a 3rd and 4th city, which is what I plan on starting off the next session with. The relic train spawned here in Asterisk, which, again, they can spawn closer on the lower, when you have early in the Spire campaign, don't have as many cities. And then it headed out here to Ominous Rock, and it moved around to various unknown systems, and then went here for its next to last stop. So it should be somewhere between here and our territory at this point, heading all the way back here. In order to get there successfully, it would have to get through multiple choke points of ours. That's not going to happen. But we've got all this cleared out. We're ready to go. I've been gradually building up my systems. I had a good suggestion from, I believe that the person goes by is NR Limbo, who was talking about having a force field back covering, you know, the retreat wormhole from your choke point command station. So I've done that. And I've been adding on to these gradually as we go. We're in the 150 to 250 roughly range on all of our choke points. I got rid of the system down here. I did in fact go military with Oz over here. And also, one thing I did to save research that I definitely recommend is on these systems, if we look at our tech, we've got a whole bunch of stuff here that we might upgrade eventually, just the weapon stuff, just to make our turrets that much better. But I only went up to the 3rd level on the military command stations. Each of these, I just spent 1,000 to upgrade the choke point command stations. And of course, that upgrades not just the system or the command station, but all of the turrets in it. So if we pick this one, for example, and we're not going to upgrade it again, but like the pike turrets would normally be 6, and so would the concussive, and the Watchman frigates 2, etc. So this upgraded everything that's in there. It's more expensive to go around and upgrade, I believe it was 8 or 9 choke point systems individually for 8 or 9,000 than it would be to get this. But it's a lot cheaper than it would be to upgrade this and all of the weapons techs for all of the turrets that would be in them. So, we are set up to proceed forward with higher and more wonderful things in the Spire campaign. And that'll be coming up next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Simplified Spire will continue shortly.